Storm, the Cheers podcast that isn't quite. This is the place where every week we spend an inordinate amount of time talking about an episode of the greatest sitcom in all history, Cheers. I do this with my friends, my teammates, my partners. Some would even call them my compatriots, Tookie and Dave. How are you? How was your week?
Solid, real solid week. Great weekend. Got to see some family for the first time in a long time. My dad's came up from Florida. He should have landed about half an hour ago back home.
Nice.
But it was nice to prove that the old man still exists. I'm feeling the faintest glimmer of optimistic for the first time in a long time.
Nice. When Al's back in New England, all is right with the world.
Indeed.
Did anyone ever call your dad Big Al?
No, because I think I don't want to say he was sensitive about his weight, but I think okay. he was never approachable in that way.
I always just thought about it because your dad's like 6'3", is he not?
No, he's only like 6'1". He's a little shorter than I am. Yeah.
Maybe it's just like somebody's dad coming to college. I always felt like your dad was exceptionally tall.
He's not short, but he is a big guy. Although now he is, living the Florida lifestyle. He's rail thin.
It's funny because there's a comedian in Boston that we love, Alvin David, who is called Big Al, but it's ironic.
There was another David in my family. There still is, and so for a long time I was Little David, which I'm glad that didn't stick. Nice.
And Tookie, how was your week?
Oh boy! Well, over the weekend, I watched Faye Dunaway's star turn in Mommy Dearest.
Oh,
big movie in our childhood.
What a time.
It was if you were our age, if you're now in your mid-40s, no wire hangers was a go-to line.
Trevor has no idea how often, whenever I need something around the house, I'm going to scream, "Tina, bring me the axe."
Oof. It's one of the very few movies about horrific child abuse that really became a comedy go-to.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot.
Ever?
No.
If ever?
Nah, not so much.
Yeah. It's a pretty short list.
Yeah. Like there's no Alice doesn't live here anymore comedy bits.
Yeah.
Has The Room done? Not The Room. What was the one with Brie Larson? Room. Yeah.
The Room was that's produced a lot of comedy fodder.
Oh
yes. Yeah. That was the Tommy Wiseau movie.
Actually, have I got a film recommendation for you? If I haven't already brought it up,
hit me.
Free to watch on YouTube. The Miami Connection.
What is that?
Written, directed, and starring YK Kim, the Korean Tommy Wiseau.
Ah.
Oh yeah, it's a riveting tale of a group of multinational friends who are University of Central Florida students, but by day, and the band Ninja Sound by night, and they battle Orlando/Miami's ring of cocaine biker ninjas. It's great. You should watch.
All right, I'll check it out. It's funny. I've never been a guy who loves The Room type of movie all that much. I have a lot of friends who really dig that. Oh, you've got to see this. It's terrible. And you love it and ironic. And I don't know. I'm just I'm going to look back on my deathbed in 3 or 4 years and think to myself, that's 2 hours I could have used. There were better movies to watch.
Like Miami Connection.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a very specific kind of bad movie that I like, and it does involve a certain level of craft and actually a level of special effect. Like I think Deep Blue Sea is maybe the greatest bad movie that I think that's an incredible movie.
Yep.
Okay.
Roadhouse might be the apex.
That's a really fun, good, bad movie. I enjoy that a lot. I like the attempt. I like that it's big, and I like that it's well done bad. Like I don't like the half-assedness of The Room. Like, as ridiculous as Deep Blue Sea is, I get the story. They're super smart, intelligent, great white sharks. Hell yes. It's scary. How can we make them more scary? What if they're super smart? Booyah. I'm on board.
And what if you're saddled with dragging Michael Rappaport around?
Oh, boy.
And who didn't want Michael Rappaport to die? That movie works on a lot of levels. A lot of levels. And one of the greatest jump scares of all time was Sam Jackson in Deep Blue Sea.
Fabulous.
Now, Tookie, you've seen Deep Blue Sea, right?
Is that the one with LL Cool J?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I've seen the music video 1,000 times. Never got to see the actual movie.
Oh, you have to see Deep Blue Sea. Oh, that has to happen. Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah. But that's what I loved about Godzilla versus Kong. I felt like that was a really good, bad movie. And I kind of felt that way about Kong Skull Island, although I thought that was a better movie. Like, as a narrative, acting-wise, I thought that was a tighter movie. Kong Skull Island, I cared about everybody in it. Like, I cared about the people. They were fully fleshed out. They were interesting people. Kong Godzilla was just, hey, too many people are talking. We need to get back to monsters fighting each other.
But if only we could have seen it in IMAX.
Yeah.
That's how it was meant.
It could still happen.
Yeah.
The IMAX theaters are open. And I can't imagine there are a lot of other options right now. So, yeah, I think I might need to check this out. I might need to just go and see it in IMAX.
Okay, but before we move on, No Retreat, No Surrender. Good, bad movie?
Terrible. No. Awful.
I would watch that again.
Movie.
There was so much I enjoyed about that film.
Nope.
I would watch that piecemeal again.
Nope. You want to show me a good fight scene from it? Fine. But that's what makes me mad about No Retreat, No Surrender is what makes me mad about The Room. There's no narrative structure there. There's no reason for all of that to be happening. In Deep Blue Sea, there's a reason for everything to be happening. As much as you want to say that couldn't happen, in this world it can. Okay. It's kind of like Shakes the Clown, where it's like so many people consider that a bad movie. But you know what? Narratively, it creates a world. They all play by the rules of that world, and everything in it is justified. No Retreat, No Surrender is fucking stupid, right down to the fact that the first time they say it, 20 seconds later, they retreat. That terrible movie. Terrible movie. There's a lot of great kung fu movies where you're just like, there are a lot of good, bad kung fu movies because it's like, all right, we got to get to the next fight for whatever reason. And they justify it and you get to that fight. Boom. Good.
Okay. So that's why Last Dragon will always reign supreme.
Yes, exactly. That's a great bad movie.
Okay.
Because as insane as the idea of the glow is and as over the top as all those characters are, there are rules in that universe and they follow them all. Okay. And everyone's got a narrative. You understand why people are doing what they're doing, as ridiculous as it is. It's like, it's important to him to be the greatest martial artist in all of Harlem. That matters to Sho'nuff, and I believe it matters to him. The whole time. It all matters.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I like it.
You have rested your. I won't bring up No Retreat, No Surrender again.
I mean, you can if you just want me to be unhappy. That's fine. I'll just know that that's your goal. It's like Mike seems too happy in the world right now. Let's change it. And sometimes it's true. I do need to be less happy. That's fine. But something that did make me happy this week was this episode of Cheers. Season 2, episode 9, They Call Me Mayday. I did not remember this episode that well, and I watched it, and I really enjoyed it both times. It was an episode that could have kind of fallen anywhere in season 2 narratively, but it was so tightly written and so joke dense. It was one of the most laugh out loud episodes that we've had. Dick Cavett was in there and funny. and reminding you why Dick Cavett was a thing for a long time in America. There was just a lot of work in there. I loved the Norm stuff was funny and fun. Coach just had zinger after zinger after zinger this week. You could tell that David Angel really loved the joke writing and that he really loved writing good stuff for Coach. I really liked this week's episode. Tookie, what did you think of this one? Season 2, 9.
David Angel didn't piss me off this week.
Nice.
Because he's written a lot of episodes that have pissed me off. So good job, David Angel.
Yeah. Dave, did you enjoy?
I did. It was really funny. I watched it last weekend, like Friday night, and just loved it. Laughed out loud a number of times. By Sunday, I had forgotten everything that happened in this episode. I couldn't. I had to actually Wikipedia the episode to remind myself what I had watched. And then I watched it again today and had the same experience. Laughed out loud, but I have very little. I mean, I guess what's really fun about this or interesting about this episode is nothing happens.
Yeah.
They kind of start writing a book a little bit, and Norm might be losing his wife that he's already nothing happens. There's no action at all, which is kind of delightful. It's just empty snack calories of just excuses to make jokes and sort of hang around with these kind of delightful people. It was the easiest watching episode I feel like maybe we had so far.
And I looked forward to watching it the second time. Sometimes you just want a nice bowl of Hershey Kisses there. Okay? It's not going to give me the great calories that I want, but I'm going to get a fun, quick sugar high. And while it's happening, I'm going to be happy.
And I didn't feel bad after. I would forget what happened, but I didn't feel bad about forgetting. I was just, this wasn't designed to stick. This was a pillow.
Yeah, and you can tell that because I think narratively they filmed these out of order because the last week's when Norm was getting the $500, he said I should really do something nice for Vera, which makes me think that was supposed to come after this episode when they had kind of gotten back together. And they just said, you know what? This one can go anywhere. It's its own little universe, and we're okay with that. And I did. I really, really liked it. I liked it. It was one of the first episodes where the Sam Diane relationship didn't make me tense
at all. They were on the same page almost throughout the entire episode.
It was a nice change, wasn't it? Even when they sort of had I wanted to be discovered by Dick Cavett, and then you were, but now we both are going to write for Dick Cavett. That's fun. It wasn't them you weren't worried about what was happening when they went home with each other. Yeah,
you actually saw Sam kind of listen to Diane and say, "Oh, well, how about would this work?" And they actually, and Diane too, has a little bit of movement too, and say "All right, I can do this, and I can create a persona that will allow me to kind of access this world with you." And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, this is a relationship that makes sense."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if it was his writing or someone in that cabal of writers in that room. There's this was a nice moment of subverting my expectations of moments of anti-womanness at Diane's expense.
Yep. Yeah. Great way to put it. Yeah. All right. Before we delve into it anymore, let's do the breakdown. Dave, what was going on in the world when They Called Me Mayday premiered?
Well, I wanted to, because this was such a literary themed episode, I wanted to take a look at the Times bestseller list at this time. Not a particularly Dick Cavett approved list, I would say. It's fairly trashy. It didn't feel like a real sort of Blue Blazer Ascot kind of bestseller list. At number 1, you got Pet Sematary by Stephen King. At 2 and 3, you've got Poland by James Michener and The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. So a little bit more sort of highbrow. But then we're down into Changes by Danielle Steele, The Saga of Baby Divine by Bette Midler, which is something
Bette Midler had a top 5 book on the Times bestseller list.
The blurb says the entertainer imagines what her infancy was like in a fable, lushly illustrated by Todd Shore. I didn't do any further research on this because I felt I didn't need to.
I had no idea about this, and I feel like multiple gay friends are going to scold me for having no idea that this book had happened.
This
Like,
feels
I'm gonna get like multiple private DMs that start with "Girl."
This
You
feels
didn't
like
know about the Divine Miss M's book.
I feel like this was something that was maybe designed to capture the imagination and like has failed to sort of to take hold in generations of camp aficionados. I don't know. I don't want to say it's a cash grab, but I have my doubts, Ms. Midler. I will say, but once you get down to the bottom, at number 15, there is a very Cavitish kind of title. The Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin is on its 11th week on the bestseller list, and that is a doorstop of a book. If you haven't read, it's fabulous. It's a wonderful kind of American magical realism novel that I read maybe 15 or 20 years ago and loved and have not picked up since because it is a doorstop. I remember it being great. I think there was a terrible movie made of it. But I would recommend it with the reservation that like I can't remember if there was any reason not to in 2021. But I remember loving it at the time. So that's floating around out there, at least to give Dick Cavett, who by the way had a book out in 1983. So that reference in the episode is factual. I feel like that book will give Dick Cavett some solace for the future of American letters, at least.
Oh, good. I worry about Dick.
84, still going strong.
There you go.
You know who's 88 today?
Who's that?
The Honorable Dr. Louis Farrakhan.
Well,
I did not know that. The two guys and normally when I think Dick Cavett, I do think Louis Farrakhan.
That is a buddy comedy waiting to happen.
Right? I would watch that. Rush Hour 5.
There's a new on the road. Definitely. Crosby and Hope, step aside.
Oh, man.
We've got Cavett and Farrakhan.
I'm not Farrakhan.
I want to see that update to I Spy because reasons.
The original I Spy series, at least a month ago, was free on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting rewatch.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Good God.
Weird because of obvious Cosby reasons. Interesting to watch, though. That was like a very high-end, involved, like well-funded show of the time where they really went to Rome and Barcelona and all these places. And they were, I mean, it was Cosby, but that show was deadly serious. It was something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get past co-lead multiple rapist, check it out on Amazon Prime. And unfortunately, I think if you're watching shows from the 60s, that's something you're going to have to say to yourself a couple of times. There you go.
I just hope Robert Culp is not culpable. Sorry.
That's okay. There are so few puns in that in the universe of I hope we don't find out he was a convicted sex criminal. That's not a pun heavy genre. So I admire you for trying it.
I always had a soft spot for Robert Culp.
We all did. Greatest American hero. Come on.
Connie Selica.
Right? Why was she not a bigger star?
Oh, because America was stupid. And if you think America is stupid now, like America's been stupid since the beginning.
At least John Tesh has cared for her in the style to which she'd become accustomed and deserved.
Hopefully those round ball rock royalties keep pouring in.
They'll never stop. All right, Tookie, can you tell us about this week's cold open? It was a good one, I think.
Another cold open that seems to connect to the main episode. We are really getting treated this season, it seems.
It seems like this was a year where they were more intent on having this be the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we open in on Norm at the bar in the morning in his robe and slippers, and Sam comes in, to open up the place. And it's revealed to the viewer that Norm is pretty much living there. Because it comes out later that Vera kicked him out. And Sam is like, hey, Norm says coffee's on. Sam says, any calls? No, Vera call because she wanted to reach out and nag somebody. Norm always has to get in a dig. But
yeah. Also a play on the famous commercial of the time, reach out and touch someone.
Psychic Friends?
No, that was the
phone company.
I feel very old right now. There was this very famous advertising campaign for what was then just the phone company. It was reach out and touch someone. Call up and just say hi. So it was a whole jingle. It was their whole ad campaign. You'd see signs, reach out and touch someone.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
It
didn't play that way.
Okay.
At the time, everyone was like, great, I'm calling someone. It was a pre-Cosby era.
I get, because 2018, where's the consent? 2020 and 21, but COVID though. So lots of reasons why that doesn't age well.
Nah. But that was the joke there. It wasn't just that she was nagging. It was a play on that advertising campaign.
That context was lost on me. Like I've definitely, I think I was around when 9X was just starting to leave the world
when they broke up the bells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and get absorbed into something else. But I don't know that. So I was missing that context. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say. I mean, we get it. You love, hate your wife, but damn. So, in the back and forth banter that Norm and Sam are having, Norm, says, hey, as soon as I'm back on my feet, let me pay some rent to you for letting me stay here. And Sam goes, all right, well, how about $1 a month? And Norm balks at the very idea of $1 a month for what? Oh my God. I'm sorry, that mahogany finish, sir. But anyway, so Sam reduces it to, all right, 50 cents a month. And Norm says, but no cleaning fee. And, chops him to put some cream in his coffee and serves him as though he's a guest and not squatting. And cut to the theme song.
I really liked this cold open because it's a very rare moment of just Sam and Norm and why Sam allows Norm to run up this tab and why it matters. You could just tell they have such great chemistry when they are riffing with each other. And Ted Danson and George Wendt are having fun. I love the closing moment of, you're running low on creamer, Sam. I'll get right on that. No rush. No rush. I really, it made me laugh out loud, even though there's no joke there. Yeah, that they just clearly played well with each other. I like that a lot.
I agree so hard. Because like sometimes I feel like sometimes scripted Norm, like in the case of like reach out and nag someone, can like come like it hits a little hard. But it made me realize George Wendt's genius is to never look like he's acting. He's just so at ease, and to then put this dude in a robe and slippers and have him banter with Ted Danson, the most natural performer in the history of male performers, was just like, I didn't. They could have just like they could have read the phone book to each other. I would have listened. Like it was just so easy.
Yep. Yeah, really fun. And also there's a part of me that's just happy for Norm, because even though things are tough, it's like you're living in the bar. That's kind of fun. You're kind of happy about that.
Yeah, it managed to not look sad.
But it also made me wonder, all right, so before I get into, running down the storylines, what are the hours at Cheers? Because they say good morning. Like, they work long days. I mean, it's closing time. You assume 2, maybe 1. Certainly no earlier than 1 for a bar.
Was the tea running overnights, or at least closer to overnight, or at least later than it is now?
No.
At that point?
Nope. It shut down between 12 and 1, depending on where
Oy.
you were on the line.
Ah.
Yeah.
And Alewife and Porter didn't exist, and Davis at that time.
That I don't know. In
Okay.
84, it kind of could have gone either way. It was a time of change on the T.
Yeah.
Because the elevated orange line still existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Alewife was there, but I might be wrong.
I remember Alewife opened in 85.
Ah, okay.
Good call. Trust, when it comes to Cambridge, trust Tookie. Yep. And when did Davis open?
Hang on a second.
Around the same time, right? Because those were part of the Tip O'Neill project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those should have been right, like boom, boom, boom. I don't know if because that was closer on the line, if maybe that was open at the time. But yeah, if it was only by a few months.
Hang on a second. Sorry, it's
No, it's okay.
Reopened in 84.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, these are obviously it's sitcom world, but if he gets there early enough to say good morning and then is there until 1 o'clock at night, man, the staff just works brutal hours at this bar. I mean, that's a 14-hour day every day.
Yeah, that's why it's totally cool to go chill in your office for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I will never begrudge anybody running out of the bar for a couple of hours ever again, knowing how long their days are. Good on you. Yeah, go to the office, take a break, take a snooze, do what you got to do. All right, we've got an A story, a B story, and a C- story this week. So the A story is clearly the Dick Cavett story. Dick Cavett visits the bar. There's lots of fun stuff with that. Dick Cavett gets a bunch of good jokes in here, really good little lines. You understand the job of, what did he do? He was just kind of pleasant. He was a raconteur. That used to be a job, and he was good at it. And he hosted a show. I don't know how long the Dick Cavett show lasted. Oh, but it was a thing.
It lasted for, it started in the 60s.
Yeah.
So he was basically on TV from 1968 until 96.
Wow.
In some form or another. In fact, this year was like one of 2 years that he wasn't on. He didn't have a regular show at this point. His PBS run ended in 82, and he starts up on USA Network in 85.
There you go. Dick Cavett was there. So he's visiting the bar. Diane is very excited that Dick Cavett is there. Everybody recognizes him. You could tell that, we're excited to have a guest star. So we're going to write a lot of positive lines about him, where Carla finds Dick Cavett attractive, which it seemed like a nice thing to do to your guest. And then Dick Cavett makes a lot of jokes at Diane's expense, but they are very well done jokes.
Yes.
The desert line really cracked me up. Said, no, in a desert it'd be easier to get a drink. Very good line. Dick then proposes that Sam write his life story because he thought it would be interesting, and Diane ghostwrites it. Now here's where I'm going to pick a little nit. I think the logic breaks down. Dick Cavett comes back to talk about the book, and the first thing that he says, he talks about it being competent. They think he likes it. He says his publisher is actually not interested in it because it needs to be a little more controversial. 10 years ago, maybe alcohol is enough. Now we're looking for homosexuality or some perversion or, hardcore drugs, I think he says. And Sam has a great line saying, I guess I should have gotten out more, which made me laugh both times I watched. And then he talks about how, it seems like you're a bit of a playboy. Sex sells. Now, my publisher wouldn't be interested in it, but there are a lot who would. It's like, wait a minute. Your publisher was the guy who just said you needed something more controversial. You wanted perversion and drugs. And why are we not doing, but he wouldn't put something out about him being a Lothario? That I don't understand the logic in there, which makes me wonder, was Dick Cavett just bullshitting them? And if so, what? Don't do that. You're going to make them now write a whole other book that you're not actually going to sell, Dick Cavett? That's not cool. So, yeah, I think the logic broke down. But then Sam and Diane decide that they are going to write this. It's going to be Sam with Diane under her pen name, Jessica Simpson Bourget, which needs to be used again by other people. That's a great pen name.
No,
That
because
needs to be someone's screen name, at least.
maybe, but it's at this point it's such a deep cut and has become obscured by pop singer turned shoe shiller Jessica Simpson, elder sister to lip sync phenomenon Ashley.
Poor Ashley.
Poor Ashley.
And then they write.
I'd forgotten about Ashley Simpson. I haven't thought about her in 30 years.
That poor woman. And then they go and write the sexy version, and they both have to throw water on themselves. And that's the A storyline. B storyline, we find out that Norm was a high school wrestler. His old buddy comes there. His nickname was Moonglow. The old buddy, in what is a completely inappropriate thing to do, as soon as you find out that they are separated, says, "Oh, would you mind if I paid a call on her?" What? They're not even divorced. Even after you're divorced, you don't ask. What are you doing, dude?
I don't think that term existed at that point, but that's definitely a violation of bro code.
Oh, yeah. Huge bro code violation. Yeah. And then Norm acts like he's okay with it, and Cliff makes up Tanya cocoa butter. And then he has, when he finds out that, what's his face? What is that guy? He's that guy who pops up in a lot of things.
Oh, his name is Walter Olkowitz.
Thank you. I should have done the research. I'm bad.
He had a real nice run. He passed away a few years ago, but he had a real good career, including I have to go back and look, but he had a number of recurring parts. He was kind of like he was a total 80s sitcom, that guy.
Oh yeah. So he is making time with Vera. Norm decides he doesn't like that, has him strip searched by a state trooper. They come in and wrestle for Vera, which Norm wins and then sends him on his way. Now leave with what's left of your self-respect. The C- storyline is Coach finds out that an old friend of his dies and he needs to get in shape, which is barely a storyline, but somehow manages to produce like 6 or 7 really good Coach jokes. So God bless him for putting that in. Just Coach doing handstand push-ups. I don't know how he came up with that, but it's the joke I didn't know I always needed. It's really great. It's
always so good when there's the obvious Nicholas Colasanto physical sub out. All those gags make me laugh every single time. When he fell down the stairs in season 1, like whenever they find an excuse to just make us worry about this old man in this obviously it is obviously not him way. It's so broad and it's funny every time.
Yeah, every Coach joke hit this week. It was so good. There were so many callbacks. I mean, and even the ones outside of that storyline, he had like a dozen great jokes this week. That was what I wrote to you guys. This is a joke dense episode. It's just boom, 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 one after the other. Really good. I couldn't write them all down.
Yeah, when I first started watching it, I thought where the episode was sending us was going to be like Sam and Diane get into a fight about Sam getting published and Diane not, or Sam wanting to, or then when the Lothario thing kind of came up, it's going to be, Sam wants to make the book bluer and Diane's going to want to restrain it. And I was so grateful to see it never went that way. I was just like, nope, we're going to, this is a small little thing. And it's just, this really is kind of like just a window into the bar. And it's not about the fact that these two people can't find common ground.
It felt a lot more, and I say this in a good way, like a later run Cheers, where it's just, how many jokes can we fit in this episode? And they're all really good jokes, and you like everybody at the end of it. There's not much for Carla to do this week. I will say this. I don't think David Angel writes the best for Carla. But yeah, there was just a lot of great lines this week. Lots of great stuff. And I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed that I got to spend a fun week with everybody this week. No one was that tense or upset. It's hopeful for Norm. Everybody's doing pretty well. Coach talks about how good he feels. I'm like, all right, yay. Coach is feeling great. Everyone's happy. Even though the book isn't going to get written, you can tell that they are enjoying writing it together, enjoying in quotes They are really having a great time. It's a good week to be at Cheers.
Yeah, this is a dynamic I like to see between Sam and Diane as a couple. I didn't hate them as a couple this week.
No.
I have other weeks where it's like there is the tension, but there isn't like the screaming match again, the makeup sex again. Like I wasn't tired of them as a couple in this episode. I was, and because they eventually got to the same side with each other, I was on their side too.
It was a week that made you understand why they were together. I got it. Sam had enough to talk to her about that was interesting. You could tell what she liked about him when he takes charge, and he has good lines. He's funny. He can hold his own with Dick Cavett, which is not easy to do. Just talking, the little jokes that he makes back and forth, you understand that Sam, even though he's not that smart, he's witty, he's funny, he's quick, and that it's attractive. It's nice. You like it, even though later on he does have that bizarre Keebler elf outfit on. I don't know what was going on with the costumer this week, but that's Act 2 costume for Sam with the green shirt and the vest and the brown pants. If you put the hat on him, he's in a tree baking cookies. It's everything. It's really weird. And it was the only thing that totally distracted me this week.
There were some interesting swings, costume-wise, in this episode, not just among the main characters, but also among some of the extras in the bar, which might end up being my '80s moment. But this was this episode you say really did feel kind of out of time, but sartorially, it was definitely of a very specific time.
Yes. I mean, so it was outside of time in the season. In the arc of where season 2 needs to go. Some of my favorite jokes this week, so we can get to joke of the week. You know what? Let's, in a joke dense episode, why don't we go there early this week if there are no objections? Tookie, what was your joke of the week this week?
Okay. My runner up, because they're both Coach lines.
Yep.
My runner up is Coach telling. Or Coach asking Norm, when are you going to bring Tanya by? But I think we might all have the same joke of the week. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I feel like this might have been the peak joke, where Norm is talking about, the cars, crashing the car or something. And Coach said, don't tell me you wrecked the car, Norm. And Coach, it's a metaphor. Those are the hardest parts to get.
I did love that joke so much. It wasn't my joke of the week, but I did love that joke.
Yeah.
Those are the hardest to get parts for.
Yeah.
Did love that. Dave, what was your joke of the week?
I'll give a runner up too. My runner up is at the outset of Diane's first encounter with Dick Cavett, and he kind of teases her. They're kind of going back and forth, and he's a little arch with her, but it's funny. And she all of a sudden receives the joke, realizes like she's being like made fun of gently, and she laughs and says, "You goose!" And I lost it. I was like, that's one of the, like, what an amazing, like, specific insight into Diane Chambers. And I'm kicking myself that I didn't spend my 40s calling people you goose.
You got 3 years left of them. Yeah,
you're right. I might have to start sneaking it in. I think that my joke of the week, and I apologize if this steps on yours, Mike, but it's a Coach one. When Sam and Diane retreat to the office to start working on their smut, and Sam says, "Coach, we don't want to be bothered." And Coach ostensibly just looks at the camera and says, "Who does?"
That was perfect. A great one. It was in my running for joke of the week. There were so many good Coach ones, and I pick Coach so often that I leaned away from Coach this week. There were so many choices out there, and I thought I wanted to pick a Sam because I don't feel like I pick Sam very often, and I thought that Sam had multiple really laugh out loud lines this week.
Yeah.
One I already mentioned was homosexuality, perversion, drug use. I'm sorry I didn't get out more. I thought was very, very good, well written, well delivered. he had one one line that I thought was such a great subtle callback that you were not expecting. So it started with I wrote pretty good in high school. You wrote you didn't write pretty good. You wrote pretty well, which was very funny. Coach has a great line there where I wish she'd make up her mind. And you think that's the joke, but it's cheers, and they're gonna get another joke out of it. When he comes back and is trying to talk Diane into writing it, so you're a pretty well writer. I loved that joke both times. I love the sincerity of it. It was so great. I love that he did not get that he thought pretty good was something you are never supposed to say, apparently, and he just didn't know it. I really loved that. I love the waiting for the payoff. But my joke of the week, I wanted it to be something with Dick Cavett. And so it was when Sam is coming up to get rid of Diane and saying, somebody wants you at another table. Who? Everybody at this one. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It is extremely witty for Sam, but I believe that he would say it. It was well delivered. I loved that Dick Cavett appreciated it. I thought that line was why Dick Cavett thought his story might be witty enough and interesting enough to actually write a book. Aside from how interesting his story is, it's, oh, this guy is funny and has a clever turn of phrase too. People are going to like it. He's going to make it funny. I really love that joke.
Yeah, that was a super moment, and it's just like a great wrap up to that first beat.
Yep.
I really thought this episode was a great Ted Danson kind of really honing in on who Sam is in some ways, because there was that joke about when he reveals that he watches PBS and Diane asks what program, and he says he likes the show where the girls answer the phones, but you could kind of see him smiling through it. It wasn't like he didn't play it as like, oh, I like to watch it because there are women answering phones. But it was like, I know this is going to get a reaction out of Diane. I know it's a pledge drive, but I'm going to say it in this way that's going to kind of push. You could see he's like a button pusher, not just a lummox. Yeah. And he kind of did that repeatedly in the episode. And I was like, that's primo, Sam Malone.
Yeah. And you could even feel the subtle commentary of, look, even though it's PBS, they make sure pretty girls are answering the phone during Pledge Week. Okay. Yeah. They're not always PBS on PBS.
Well, damn.
Just saying, you gotta keep the lights on.
You've been called out, PBS. That's
all right.
That explains all those late night Julia Child episodes that used to come on during Pledge Week.
Ooh.
Julia, hey, if you saw Julie and Julia, you learned some stuff about Julia.
Well, I didn't realize that was the public access equivalent to BET Uncut, but here we are.
All right, your 80s moment of the week. What was it?
Ooh, I have 3. So Dave, go ahead.
All right, I'll take my there is we talked a little bit about Sam's vest, but there is speaking of vests, there is a one of the extras in the bar in the first half of the episode. There's a woman wearing a knit vest, like a crocheted pullover vest. That is like, once you see it, I had to rewind the episode because I stopped listening. I lost time because I couldn't take my eyes off of this embroidered. It's not even embroidered. It's like, it looks like a kind of, it looks like it has the consistency of like a shag rug. It's got some sort of floral pattern on it, but it is something that you would either nowadays you would put on a toddler, or you would wear in 1983 to go drinking. Okay. And I could not get enough of it. If I could, I'd walk away from the screen right now and go downstairs and pause it and look at that lady with her back to the camera with that resplendent plush vest on.
You got to take a screenshot and post it to the page.
I will.
Curious.
Yeah,
I will do that.
This vest.
It's yeah, it can slip by, but it's as I say, once you see it, you can't. There will be your life before seeing it, and then there's your life afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right, Tookie, you got 3 '80s moments.
Yeah, I guess so. Honorable mention would be the reach out and touch someone, because I had no context for that, so that's new information for me. But in ascending order, number 3, hearing "holding dope." That feels like a very. I told the cops he was holding dope. That just feels like a turn of phrase of its time, because I'm pretty sure, like, that's not what the kids are calling it. Number 2, Coach's fake legs. The fake legs that they use while Coach is doing handstand push-ups. It feels like a prop of a certain bracket of time.
You feel like those would be CGI legs today?
Maybe, but or it would just be handled differently. I think it would just not, unless the joke is that they are obviously fake, it would not be handled in the same way, where it's like, is this they're trying to, are they trying to
Maybe I'm not watching carefully enough. I thought that was a real guy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'd say same deal, but I'm easily fooled. Like, I am a rube.
Yeah, the way that the right leg went out when they went one-handed.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I thought the guy had support and was, being held up or something. But the way they moved, I thought that was a real guy.
It could have been. But, like, there's fake prop limbs at times that they use for trickery and such. So that would, on sitcoms in particular. So that kind of stood out to me as an 80s moment. And my number 1 80s moment, I had to look up Dick Cavett. Dick Cavett is my moment. I genuinely, I'd heard his name. I heard his name, but I know of him, but I don't know him. So it, I think I not to toot my own horn, but I think I have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge of things. But yeah, Dick Cavett is one of those people who kind of slipped my through my net of knowing things. But from what I understand, it was said that he was like the smart man's late night host, so kind of the Conan of his day, if you will.
In a sense, he was definitely. I mean, they're both very intelligent. Dick Cavett was never willing to be the clown in the way that Conan was. He was never really self-deprecating. He would do it maybe in that way of, all right, we can put a short joke in here and I'll do something a bit at my expense. But he would never, Conan is willing to do what it takes to get the laugh. Dick Cavett, Conan almost wants to downplay the fact that he went to Harvard and is as smart as he is. Dick Cavett wanted you to know he was smart. That mattered to Dick Cavett. So yeah, in that sense, in that they were probably both the smartest guys in late night when they were in late night, 100% agree. But yeah, Dick Cavett was very happy to be called the smart man of late night. That was his lane. And interestingly, Dick Cavett had this little run in the 90s, I feel like, in movies in particular, where he was kind of the go-to guy for making it feel like a certain era. So Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, they would include little clips of Dick Cavett to let you know, like, oh, this is not now. This is from the 60s.
Kind of like when movies and TV shows started inserting clips of Larry King.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Cavett also gives you like an instant kind of, because his show was built so much, not just on entertainment, but also on like sort of like addressing the politics of the day. And, having Lester Maddox on was such a huge deal in the 70s, and stuff, embracing the debate of the time. Like you put Cavett on your show and you've got some unearned gravitas that you don't get if you put even if you put Carson or Jack Parr, Steve Allen on.
Nice. All right, my 80s moment of the week. I don't think I've done this before. It was the trope of someone getting a phone call on a payphone at a place.
Oh, an incoming payphone call.
Yeah, an incoming call, because that kind of had to be how Norm got the call from Wayne, where he's like, yeah, I'll be here. Come on over. And that was where we found out about the cop. And I told him he was holding dope. It was, you just kind of accepted that somehow people knew to reach people at a public phone at a place that they were at a lot. That was because otherwise you couldn't move the story forward the way that people do with a cell phone now.
Question though.
Yes.
This is the pre-caller ID era.
Yes. Yeah. Caller ID did not exist at this time.
How did people get the number?
So the number was printed on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So if you were looking at the payphone, they had a 7-digit phone number there.
Oh,
so you could tell people, all right, I'm at, 7 blah, blah, blah. And they could call you on that phone.
And this was also you have to dial the area code days.
Yep.
Wow.
Just 7 digits.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I think at that time, all of Massachusetts was 617.
I think probably 617 508.
Yeah. I mean, for forever, it was just 2.
Yeah.
617 was Metro and 508 was everything that wasn't the Metro Boston area for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But I wonder if 508 didn't come in mid 80s.
Maybe it came after 781.
No,
it was
508 predated 781.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 617 508 for a long time, but I think Mass was 617 for a long stretch, the whole state.
I remember having to learn 508 at a certain point.
Yeah, there was a time. Now, I know when I was 10 and I moved to Massachusetts, because I was Rhode Island and we were all 401, I know I had a 508 number, which was in like 84. So it was sometime, I think late 70s, early 80s that change would have occurred, but it could have been a little earlier.
617 and 413, evidently. 413 I know as like way Western Mass.
Yeah. I wonder if we can look this. Dave, can you find out?
Yeah.
Because you're always our computer whiz. Now I'm really curious about this. How long it was that Mass was all 617? Because I'm almost positive 508 predated 413. It predated 978 and 781, I know.
Yeah, I feel like 978 was later in the game.
Looks like, so Massachusetts originally had 2 area codes starting in 1947, 413 and 617.
Wow.
And then in 1988,
Cookie Kavanaugh, 413 pre-508, nailed it.
All Kelly.
It was 413 and 617 at first. Okay.
All credit goes to Kelly for pointing that out.
And yeah, in 1988.
Wow.
Nice call, Kelly. I'm sorry, Kelly. I did not see the blurb. Kelly nailed it. Thank you, Kelly. Yep. So there you go. Area codes. We're learning so much. We have so much to learn. All right. So that was my 80s moment. How they had the weird machinations to move stories forward before we had cell phones. Tookie, how white was this episode?
Oh, it was okay. There were a couple raisins in the oatmeal, as we like to say here, but not a lot. Like last week with like the Benetton ad of children, the Pee Wee baseball players, like that was nice. This week I counted 2. A black man and a black woman at the corner of the bar in the first half of the episode. And then by the second half of the episode, there was one black man by the payphones and another black woman watching Norm and other guy wrestle for like 6 hours. So a total of 4 people of color.
There you go.
Yeah. That seems to be the average though.
Yeah. I feel like there's never an episode where it's all white, but many episodes.
Oh, your volume.
Oh, we lost your audio mic.
Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, you're back.
All right. You got
All right,
to start the sentence over.
I was going to say, it doesn't feel like there have been episodes that have been all white, but they sure feel very all white. Yeah.
Yeah. This to extend the metaphor, I felt like the raisins were kind of deep in the oatmeal in this one.
Yeah.
You know, there was really not, with the exception of that of the one extra who was watching the wrestling, and she was killing it because she was emotionally invested in what was happening between these two gentlemen.
Yeah, she had money on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had money on Norm.
Yeah.
Sam Malone creepy quotient.
Not okay. Sam's never not gonna creep.
Mm-hmm. But for Sam, good week.
Good week, not lecherous. I give him a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this was a 2 for Sam this week. I mean, he didn't lech after anybody in the bar this week. It was just his girlfriend and memories of consensual moments from the past.
Mm-hmm.
So for Sam, yeah, it's like, you know, aside from the moment where he starts bragging a little bit to Cavett, he's kind of a gentleman the whole episode this week. It was really a refreshing Sam week.
Yeah, I think Dick Cavett brings out the best in people. I give Sam. I'm gonna give. Not only is Sam not creepy, like the real kind of responsibility for being the erotic engine in this episode is Diane. It's really it's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a bummer that I understand why we don't get to experience what that is.
Yeah.
But the imagination does kind of reel. So I'm gonna give Sam like a 1.5. I think this is a super low creepy quotient.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good week for you, Sam. We're proud of you. You can do it, buddy.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, and I don't even have to blame the writing on him being gross this episode. David Angel, thanks for not pissing me off this week.
Good one, David Angel. Good one. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? They called me Mayday.
I hope they keep it going like this. I know there's gonna be clunkers ahead, but man, what a nice treat after 9 weeks of
strong.
Yeah.
I hope it keeps going. There's at least one very good episode coming up very soon with Coach. The very Coach-centric episode where he's hanging out with them a lot. That is a very, very good episode. I don't think that's next week, though. I want to say that's like 212.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hold out hope.
I do want to give one last shout out to Walter Olkowitz, who I thought was really great as Wally in this episode. Specifically, also like, there is that like kind of weird veering into homophobia when Norm starts asking him about if the officer's hands were cold during the strip search after he implicated him for holding dope, and I love the way he played the response, which was it had its moments, unashamed, like all of a sudden I was like, wow, Wally's lived a life. Wally's got stories, and it's I was maybe not ready for like a full spin-off for Wally, but I would have followed Wally for like a 2-parter.
Question.
Yes.
Could the name Wally count as a very 80s name for a character?
What's our last significant Wally?
That's a good question.
I guess Wally is the last one.
Yeah. That's a big one, though. And I kind of get that Walter Goggins, although I don't know that he's called Wally. There's some Walters out there. Walter White.
Not a Wally.
Not a lot of Wallys.
Waldo Geraldo Faldo from Family Matters. Not a Wally.
I feel like Wally wasn't especially 80s, even though it's not particularly now. If that distinction makes sense. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a ton of Wallys. I wouldn't be surprised to see some pop up from the last 20, 30 years, but I feel like there were a lot in 40s, 50s, 60s.
Oh, like Wally and the Beaver, yeah.
Yeah, lots of Wallies after Leave It to Beaver. So it doesn't strike me as 80s so much as it strikes me as not now.
Fair.
If that, yeah, that would be the distinction I would draw. So I think it's a good call not to have included that in your 80s moment of the week.
Wally Zerbiak is the only recent Wally I can get on a cursory.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean,
much
that's
a 21st century Wally, though.
But like that's a pretty deep cut Wally.
Yeah.
Wow. But you know what? I think you could also argue that Wall-E, the movie, and Wally Zerbiak were more famous than any of the Wallies from the 80s and 90s. Those are probably two bigger Wallies than anyone since Wally from Leave It to Beaver.
I have not.
Yeah.
God, are the Sacramento Kings even still a franchise?
They are. He was a Timberwolf, though.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of not Vlade Divac. Who am I thinking of? Oh, somebody who was a King.
White guy in the Kings, Scott Pollard.
Peja Stojakovic?
Maybe. They looked alike. Some of the players kind of blurred.
Okay. that was a very subtle tookie, like one of the white basketball players. You know what I'm saying.
I don't know.
And those were all Sacramento Kings, were they not?
I mean, it just after a certain point, no disrespect to Eastern European people, but like all the letters in the names just kind of meld. I just learned how to pronounce Krzyzewski after reading it.
Yeah. That's why he became Coach K.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of Shaq's great lines when he had a good run free throw shooting. He wanted to be called Shakovic because of all the European shooters. Shaquille O'Neal. He had some good lines.
Every so often. Creeping up to the line, but not crossing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Shaquille O'Neal, there's a, and I have issues with Gladwell. I've talked about my issues with Gladwell. There was a good revisionist history he did about free throw shooting, though.
I heard that way.
Talked about why basketball players should do free throws underhanded. And about how silly it is that so many of them don't just because they don't like the way that it looks. And how accurate Rick Barry was, and how Will Chamberlain had one good season of free throw shooting, and just about how unstoppable Shaquille O'Neal would have been if he could have shot 60% from the line.
Yeah.
I mean, no team would have had a chance against one of his teams if he could have approached 70%, and that pretty much anyone who commits to shooting underhanded can be right near 70% or better. And Shaq just wouldn't do it. He's like, nope, not going to do it. I'd rather shoot 10% than shoot underhand.
Foolish pride.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited for someone to go ahead and do it again. And the thing is, the most famous underhanded free throw shooter, Rick Barry, had like 3 different sons who played in the NBA, and none of them did it. None of them did it. If you were going to get somebody to keep it going, it would be one of the Barry kids. And they were all like, nope, screw you, Dad. Although knowing Rick Barry, maybe his kids would have been the least likely to continue his legacy because they would have liked him the least.
I think it's important to show your old man that you can do it your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rick Barry sections of Loose Balls, very interesting sections. Very interesting sections.
I'm going to refer Tristan Thompson to Rick Barry tapes.
Oh, Tristan.
Can he just go away?
Well, I mean, the whole team's going away. Yeah, Jaylen Brown out for the season. What a bizarre year of basketball this has been.
Yeah.
It's been, I hate to make apologies for this Celtics team because they've been very disappointing, but what a bizarre year this has been. I mean, I'm tired of people giving Tatum grief. The man had COVID.
Right.
Man had the plague, and he still put up huge numbers in good stretches. He's 23. I wouldn't trade him for anyone in the NBA right now. I mean, there might be like 1 or 2 if I would consider, but I don't think I would trade Tatum for anyone straight up. So, yeah, everyone was like, well, we got to change everything. I don't think we have to. The one thing I wish this team could do, I like Rick Stevens. Not Rick Stevens, Brad Stevens. I like Brad Stevens a lot. I do think there's something to be said for at some point, the same voice gets old. And he's been here longer than people realize.
He's been here a while.
Yeah.
Like he's starting to, I think he might have outstayed Jim O'Brien.
Yeah. Oh, by a lot.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens has been here longer than Doc was.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go back to Tommy and Red.
Yeah.
To get someone who's had a longer stretch.
Because I felt like Jim O'Brien was here for fucking ever.
The O'Brien years just felt longer.
They felt long.
They felt long. Any year that had Antoine Walker in it was 2 years.
Yeah.
It was a long, long time.
We knew how to measure COVID time before it even hit with Antoine on the team.
Antoine Walker was the original lockdown.
Oh my God.
I loved Antoine so much.
I root for him. I have great affection for him. Man, I didn't love having him on my team. Oh, talk about a guy that made your team better just by not being on it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He understood the value of the three without actually being able to do it.
It's cold comfort that the value of the 3-pointer might have been the only thing of value that Antoine Walker completely understood.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, I don't want to hear anything about trading Jalen. They were both great. And I know the team structurally is probably flawed. And they need some changes. The pieces don't complement each other all that well. But I also don't want to give Danny too much grief because these guys are young and they're growing into their talents and you don't know exactly how they were going to fit. 3 years ago, you would not have thought Jalen could do all the things that Jalen could do. So you didn't quite know what you needed to put around these guys. But I don't think, unless you can get an incredible all-NBA talent back in exchange for Jalen, that you should make that switch. He's too valuable. These guys are too good. Effort to put better pieces with them to complement them because they're 24 and 23. I was trying to go back in time in the last 30 years and look at a team that won the NBA title where the best player was under 25. The only team I could find that fit that bill was the Spurs. With Tim Duncan.
Ooh, a pick we passed on.
No, we didn't. Well, we didn't pass on it. We did everything we could to get the guy. We were the worst team in basketball that year. I mean, I've never seen a Boston team tank as hard as that ML Carr team did. We did everything we could to get Timmy Duncan. Yeah, just didn't get him. Just did not. I remember that draft so clearly. I remember the fools on Sports Talk Radio going, if you offered San Antonio 3 and 6 and Eric Williams, no. You could offer the 3, the 6, and your next 10 first-round picks, and you're not getting Tim Duncan. Greg Popovich knew exactly what he had lucked into. Yeah. But all this brings me back to the one change that you might need to make is Brad Stevens. I think there might be an argument that he has been the voice for so long, it might be time to change. And if I was another NBA team, I would sign Brad Stevens immediately because he gets his team to overachieve. I think he could be great in a lot of different spots. The guy I wish this had happened a year ago because the guy I think would be perfect for this team is Doc Rivers.
Ooh.
I would love to see Doc just really light a fire under Jason and Jalen. I think he'd be great for them.
You want a Thomas Wolfe moment.
But I will ask this. He's a guy who has surprised me. I might be saying something very silly and very WEEI right now. Is there any argument for calling Kevin Garnett and saying, are you potentially ready to take the reins of an NBA team? You put a bunch of experienced guys on the bench with him because it's his first job. You follow the Steve Nash model of, look, you were great. You're the voice that we need. And we're going to give you 3 different guys who have been head coaches in the past who are going to help you really structure the season in a way that is going to make everything work so that you're the dominant voice, but we've got your back on all this. Am I crazy thinking that that could work with this team?
That's you could pay-per-view every game, and I'm going to pay for that as long as I get an unexpurgated audio feed from the coach's bench.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have 100 technicals by Thanksgiving.
Great. Yes. We need a guy who's going to do that, though.
We need the shit talker.
Yeah. You need someone who's going to give this team swagger. Mm-hmm. And he's going to do that. Who's going to give this team fire. Mm-hmm. Who is going to be the role model and the leader in the locker room when you've got young guys. He can do that. He's that kind of personality. I think it could work. I think that could work.
I'm on board. I'm on board.
That's all I'm saying. This is all I'm saying.
I would listen to a podcast of every game.
Oh, it would be great. It would be so great. Would you not be waiting for every coach's interview? Would you not be tuning in half hour early and staying an hour later than you are right now?
Yes.
Yes. Of course you would.
It would be appointment viewing, and he would burn out by halfway through, through January.
Right. I think Kevin Garnett is probably a 5-year coach. Mm-hmm. He's not 10. He's not 15. But, man, that'd be a great 5-year run. And hopefully, if you can keep those guys and keep them healthy, by the time his run is over, they're 28, 29. They don't need that kind of coach anymore. That's when they need a player's coach, a steadier voice, a cooler head. But right now, that's the guy they need. I think they need that guy who's going to teach them how hot you have to burn to really get things done, how much you have to care to win games in February, because they're going to matter in seeding time. They're going to matter later on. They're going to matter when you're facing that team again later on. And he's divorced. He's got time.
Oh, that's right.
He's got time. He lost some money.
Damn.
He's already done things I did not think he was going to do. He was such a guy who somehow never appeared out and about that I really thought once he left the NBA, you probably weren't going to hear from him again. And then he popped up on TNT and was doing Area 21, and it was great. He's been a really interesting personality. Every time he gets interviewed, he really has great thoughts. I enjoy hearing from him. He loves reaching out to, and you can tell every time, as much as people love Paul Pierce, and he loves Paul Pierce, and I love Paul Pierce because I saw him his whole career. When that team gets back together, when they have the 2008 reunions, it's clearly Kevin Garnett is the leader. He's the ringleader. He's the host. He's the guy who's putting in the calls going, hey, we're getting the band back together. We're hanging out. Show up. Like, Paul's not making that call. Kevin's making the call.
Paul is calling strippers.
Yeah. Paul's at a different party. He needs to leave something when Kevin calls.
Yeah, I don't think Paul Pierce is coming to coach any team anytime soon.
No.
Oh, no.
And
no, he's
nor
a
should
TV
he.
guy. He was good on TV, and he's going to get another TV job.
Paul is living his best life with strippers and poker, and I'm not mad.
Nope.
That
Just
man
don't
almost
post
got
about it.
There is, if I had to guess, within the year, there's going to be the Paul Pierce podcast. It's going to be the Triple P. I think now that the all the smoke guys have kind of set the blueprint, and people have shown how lucrative and interesting a great NBA podcast can be, I kind of feel like that's the Paul Pierce model right now, where it's like, all right, yeah, he'll do something with the Ringer, he'll do something with one of those companies, or just on his own, and they're going to sell the advertising, and he's going to be great, and he's going to talk about whatever he wants. He's not going to have to worry about what anyone's thinking about him, and I think we're going to love it, and I'm going to listen to every episode of that show.
Undisneyfied Paul Pierce.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the Paul Pierce podcast is on the horizon. I promise. There's no way that's not happening.
I just pray that like 6 months from now, we're not saying the Joe Rogan of the NBA.
Oh God, please.
Ugh.
Let's hope. No, Paul's not going to do that.
No, I believe in Paul. I believe it. You know what? What he's been through, you're entitled to relax however you choose.
Yep.
Mr. Pierce.
Yeah.
Amen.
Paul wears a mask.
On the thought of the Joe Rogan of the NBA, we're going to wrap this up. All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody. It was a fun week. We talked about some good stuff. We had a good episode. We're going to do more of this next week. For Tookie Kavanaugh, Dave Rabinow, I am Mike Dorval. Stay safe, everybody. Get vaccinated. We're going to see you in a week. Bye.